Like, imagine David has the power to not die. But what good am I otherwise? This is another episode of the Flight Ringers podcast. I'm David King. That's Dan Spottswood.
It's good to be here. Thank you.
We are professional cartoonists, and we are Legion of Superheroes experts.
All right. We are looking at Adventure Comics 375, which was published on October 31st, 1968, the same day Johnson halted all bombing of Vietnam.
Wow. Good one.
Yeah. Real world reference.
Thanks, LBJ.
Too bad he started it.
And he killed JFK.
Oh, yeah, that's right. What was the big controversy? He was hiding some information about that for a long time, right?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't remember.
All I know is he's responsible, and the CIA and the mafia, they all killed him just so LBJ could, I don't know, fuck Jackie.
He'd make his aides and politicians talk to him while he was taking shits to intimidate them. I always thought that was really cool. So the cover date is December 1968. This was written by Jim Shooter, who also, according to the source I looked at, did the layouts to this issue. And then Win Mortimer did the finished pencils and inks. I didn't see who colored it or who lettered it. Letteries, Joe Letteries, is that his name? He is credited with doing one page for sure, but
well, like one of the ads or something, or one of
probably like I think maybe the first page.
Oh, the splash
I'm not
page.
Sure.
And I wonder if it's letteries or if it's letterazy.
Oh, probably.
Letter crazy.
A letterer named Letteries. It just sounds like a pseudonym to me. But so this is the first appearance of the Wanderers. I don't know that they ever became famous or prominent, but they did have a maxi series in the late 80s.
I think it was not meant to be a finite series, though, right? It was an ongoing series.
Oh, it was?
I think so, because I think it had 13 issues.
That's true.
Yeah. I like this cover. Before we start talking about the Wanderers.
Okay.
I like shit like this where, like Bouncing Boy, the lamest character. He's the king of the Legion.
I can't believe you said that.
He's making them tear off their insignias because whatever they're inferior to his power as the champion. He's the mightiest of them all. Even better than Superboy.
Wait a minute, Supergirl ripping hers off? How'd that get past the code?
No, that's Saturn Girl ripping
How'd
her Saturn off.
Get away with that? Is she wearing it on her belt?
She has an undershirt on, probably. It's just these two guys in the foreground don't have underwear.
Mm-hmm.
Saturn Girl, I'm sure, has a very conservative undergarment on.
Right. Unlike in the 70s where she's wearing a bikini the entire time. Or maybe she's covering it. I don't know what's going on there.
Well, see, the Superboy S is kind of covering up most of her chest, so you can't tell. You can't see shit. Stupid Comics Code Authority. We want to see some.
But you know who can see it? You know who can see it is Bouncing Boy from that vantage point.
I bet that's why he commanded them to rip their shirts off, just so he could see a girl without her clothes on.
I like that Sunboy is crying like a...
Well, they both are. Both of these dudes are.
Everyone but Superboy.
Superboy knows. He's just humoring Bouncing Boy. He's like, all right, I'll tear my insignia off. But back in the 20th century, I'm fucking the shit, dude.
He's used to it. He gets debased on every other cover of his comic for like 40 years now. He knows the drill.
Well, he's like, at least you're not hazing me like the first time you guys met me again.
I'll just have to rip this Superman symbol off and show off my manly chest.
Yeah, his hairless, smooth chest.
Yeah. King of the Legion.
Good artwork. I like the Mortimer on Mortimer artwork. It looks
or Mortimer on Shooter.
Yeah, that's true. But I think I like the ink line of Mortimer. It's kind of ragged and scratchy. It's not as slick as some of these other guys were. Definitely not like Abel level of hard line. It's kind of, I don't know.
I mean, overall, even though we haven't even gone through it yet, I do like this. I don't think it's quite as strong as his Action Comic stuff, But I think Jim Shooter is probably holding him back a little bit.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I think it shows that a cartoonist is not doing the layouts in this, but I like the artwork.
How long has it been Tales of the Legion? Has it been that the entire time in Adventure? Since 300?
I think so. I think that it began pretty much as Tale, and like when they started showing up, it was always Tales of the Legion of Superheroes.
When it became a regular feature, or even before, you think? Because they show up 2 or 3 times before 300?
Yeah, I think they did, but I don't know I don't know what those are like. It was Tales of the Legion of Superheroes for a long time,
Right?
And it was kind of a revival thing when they changed the series title to that in the when they switched to 2 separate titles concurrently. Obviously, a throwback to this.
So we have a momentous occasion. These 2 great teams meeting for the first time. This long-awaited meeting. It almost seems like it should be in front of a crowd or something. It's like like 2 great wrestlers running into each other. And
I love the setup of this, where it seems like
Right.
they're going to fight, where Jim Shooter makes us think they're about to fight each other.
Right.
And then, like, you read the last balloon on the page, and it's like, I hold out my sword in friendship, and they're not enemies. But he makes it all real tense. What does he say? The endless night of outer space lies deep across the barren field of asteroids, where 2 mighty forces face each other in deadly silence.
They aren't the most daunting figures. I mean, it looks like we've got like kind of a hippie dad here. And
yeah, exactly. The Wanderers are not too scary looking. I mean, not that the Legionnaires are scary or tough looking either.
Right.
But yeah, these guys are real nobodies with his medallion and his Van Dyke beard or whatever.
And you can almost see Matter Eater Lad licking his lips when he's looking at that sword being held out in friendship.
Yeah, he's going to get a bite of that.
We have Birdman show up here.
Yeah, what are their names? One guy's name's Celebrand, the bald guy.
Right. He is the leader, and it has no powers, I don't think.
I don't think they say their names for the whole until they introduce each character later.
The bird guy, what is his name? Like Ortho?
Oh, it's Ornitho.
Ornitho.
Like ornithology, because he turns into birds.
Mm-hmm.
They build a giant obelisk to mark the spot of their historic meeting and friendship announcement. Mm-hmm. They vow eternal friendship as long as both groups fight for right and law. Mm-hmm. May it never be otherwise.
So are they sort of like their jurisdiction is like some other part of the universe? Is that why they don't cross paths here? Like,
yeah, I mean, it says like on the next page when they're like leaving, they separate. Mm-hmm. And it says the Wanderers leave the tiny planetoid for their own remote section of the universe.
Right.
And it's kind of crazy wording. Like, what is the section of the universe that the Legion of Superheroes hangs out in? Is it also remote, or is it the main part of the universe, or what does that mean? You know what I mean? Like, the universe is, it's about 1 infinity big. It's gigantic. So it's all remote, right?
I guess I was thinking maybe like, is it in Star Trek where there's like Federation space, and then outside of Federation space is sort of, I don't know, off the map kind of?
Yeah, I guess so. I think probably United Planets kind of encompasses a certain number of galaxies. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I kind of always assumed that anything beyond what they know about is something that's so distant that you're never really going to run into anybody from that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, the reason you don't know anything about that stuff is because you will never know anything about that stuff. It's so far away. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. They play very fast and loose with getting around in the infinity of space.
But it is almost kind of like when, like, though I don't think it's happened yet in real life, but like when the astronauts and the cosmonauts shake hands, mm-hmm. or like when 2 countries, like, this seems like a very diplomatic kind of thing. Like they're coming from almost like they're from different systems.
The Wanderers seem like they're nowhere near as powerful. I mean, they're a smaller group, but mm-hmm. they don't have the kind of powers that the Legionnaires have. Like, mm-hmm. there's Ornitho who turns into birds, and there's a guy who shoots darts or something, Darthog. Right. Like this girl, I think her name is Psyche, and she can change your emotions.
Right.
which is kind of a good power. But these guys are like the backwater versions of the Legion, I guess.
And we've actually seen one of them. One of them has already shown up.
Really? Which one?
They are on the cover of issue 354. One of them is destined to become a Legionnaire.
What, really? I don't have it in front of me. Maybe we'll find out by the end. You can tell me.
So you want me to wait to tell you?
I'm going to guess.
Okay.
There's, I'm trying to remember who they are. Dartalg, Ornitho, Celebrand, Psyche. And there's two ladies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Psyche and who's this green guy? That's Dartalg, isn't it? It's this one I can't remember is the one who becomes a Legionnaire, right?
Yeah. Basically.
I don't know. Who is it?
All right.
Quantum Queen.
I don't think we even see her in the inside of the issue. I didn't go through it. I mean, it would have just been that statue anyway. But so 354 is the famous issue where we see the adult Legionnaires. And on the cover, we see Superman visiting the slightly further future where the adult Legionnaires live. And he is walking through, what is it, like a memorial of dead Legionnaires. And many of them, basically, all of them are either ones that we already know and that are alive or ones we haven't even met yet. And I think everyone on this page does end up showing up. Because we have a Chemical King, Quantum Queen, Reflecto, and Shadow Woman.
Yeah, I think they had trouble getting Reflecto in, but they did eventually get Reflecto in there.
They could have done a better job of it, but yeah. Was Farrellette already dead by now?
I'm pretty sure he was. Or that's how you, as a reader, would know that Shooter's playing for keeps, and this cover isn't just a joke because, well, this one guy, he really is dead. And Shadowlat's just joined the team. I bet eventually she's going to be killed in this mysterious story with a science asteroid or whatever.
Quantum Queen perished preventing an escape from a cosmos prison. Would have been kind of cool if they would have worked that in one of the many jailbreaks that occurred during the Levitt's era.
They had a couple of those, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe he did. We just don't remember. But she would have had to have
been a Legionnaire.
Joined the team somewhere along the line.
And then she did die. They all died.
Oh, that's true.
And they were like cloned.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe that's how they died. We'll have to find out when we start covering all 13 issues.
But back to this one. There's like the Legionnaires run into a giant metal plate piece of armor that Superboy is supposed to test, and this big golden gauntlet comes and writes a message on it, just like in the Kirby comics, the hand that writes the messages from
the source wall.
Source wall, yeah. There's that hand that carves flaming letters. It's kind of like that, only this gauntlet does it in a nice type.
This kind of seems like something that might have some precedent in fiction of something like fairy tales, or
could be.
They're borrowing this from somewhere. It seems like to me.
Yeah, I haven't seen it anywhere except to that Kirby stuff. But the fact that both of these have done it, maybe it's some pop culture thing that I don't know, or some Bible shit. I don't know.
I read this twice trying to figure out where this glove came from and how it plays into the larger story, and I did not figure it out. Did you?
I think it's next issue, because this is the first part of a two-parter, I think. And in this issue, we find out that the Wanderers get turned evil by this cloud they fly into, right? Right here. And so this whole comic, the Legion is tracking down the Wanderers, fighting them. But also they're spurred on by this message they get that I challenge the mightiest Legionnaire. So they start to compete against each other to figure out who's the mightiest, so that the mightiest one can go on the mission and compete in the tourney against the glove or whoever brought out the glove. But it's not the Wanderers, right?
No, the next issue is almost a completely different story.
What?
There's almost nothing in common with this
one.
But
it ends on a cliffhanger.
I mean, the cliffhanger ties in, but the next one is like set in medieval times, some kind of like space medieval place with a chameleon boy. It's the one where he's on the guillotine on the cover, and they're like an executioner is getting ready to chop his head off.
Oh, okay.
And like he falls in love with a girl from that time.
We got a new science police chief in this issue. Chief Anus. And he looks like an anus. What a dork.
You can tell a 15-year-old wrote this.
Total cop.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like when Mortimer knew a cop when he was drawing a cop.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the Legionnaires are all competing with each other. That's the story. They're competing with one another to do the best job of defeating or bringing the Wanderers to justice who have been turned evil, to see and prove who is the mightiest Legionnaire. Because at the beginning, Superboy's like, well, of course I'll go on this mission. I'm the mightiest Legionnaire. But Mon-El is like, hell no, you have kryptonite. I don't even have fucking kryptonite, et cetera, et cetera. There's this one good panel here where the girlfriends of the Legionnaires are like, well, my man is the real mightiest one. Shadowlass is like, I think Mon-El is the best one. And then Phantom Girl's like, Ultra Boy. No, first, I guess, Duo Damsel is like, Superboy. Mm-hmm. And then Phantom Girl's like, Ultra Boy. And so they argue a little bit because, as we always mention, Triplicate Girl's whole thing is that she's in love with Superboy. Right. Not his girlfriend. She just is in love with him. Wink, wink.
Yeah, it's kind of a silly, sexist of its time kind of thing. Like they're not even considered to be part of this challenge. And they could have spun it like, well, women are not driven by testosterone and idiots who are going to like pound each other's brains out to. That didn't sound good. To beat each other. They're not gonna fight. They're above that. But instead, it's like it's not their place to do it.
Yeah, totally. Well, they even ask Supergirl, like, Supergirl, aren't you going to get in on this thing? Because you're as mighty as Superboy. And she's like, no, because Brainiac 5 is trying for this, and I wouldn't want to beat him because he's my boyfriend. It's only the boys going after this.
Right.
And Supergirl only stays out of it so she won't have to show up her own boyfriend.
I'm not sure she's his boy. There's more evidence of something being there between them in this than anything I remember seeing, but I don't know that they're a couple exactly. She just keeps saying stuff like, he's tops. And then when he comes back, she like gives him like this very kind of like friend pat.
No, she's holding him because he feels like such a loser. But she's like, you're my loser. I'm glad you lost.
Oh, right.
Because it means you'll be safe here in the bosom of Supergirldom.
I think this is the robot that he built.
Oh, really?
The Supergirl sex robot he had?
Uh-huh. Who just says he's tops?
Right.
He's like, what should she say? I'm going to program it in where she says I'm tops constantly.
At least Saturn Girl participates.
She says Lightning Lad may talk her out of it, but he doesn't. Lightning Lad's real supportive and nice because this is the Prody Lightning Lad in this one, I think. He's not the macho, over-proteinated.
Well, he doesn't want her to, but she's like, "Fuck the patriarchy. I'm not doing this shit. I'm gonna participate." Because he's like, "But Saturn Girl, why do you have to get into this contest, honey?"
Super nice guy. I like how they set up the Matrix or whatever you call this. I wish we had recorded this a while back so I could put this up as like the March Madness issue of Legion of Superheroes.
Yeah, I like that they have this very complex sports-like diagram system that they're putting together for this very ill-considered idea of like they've got to save the lives of their new friends. This is not a game, but we're gonna work a game into it while we're doing it.
Well, yeah, they're simultaneously saving them from doing like really bad damage because they're
Right.
under the influence of some cloud that makes them bad guys.
Right. That who knows? They could be mass murderers. They might be killing
Right.
innocent
But
people.
it's temporary, so they want to bring them in.
Well, right.
But also they're always real happy when they get one and it's like, you're going to jail, Dartog. They're very pleased. But yeah, it's also a game. And also somebody is threatening to kill the mightiest legionnaire. And they're all competing to become that person and find out who it is.
They're like, we need to go stop our friends before they hurt themselves and others. But first, let's work on this flowchart for our little contest that we will have in the process of saving our friends.
I mean, yeah, we should have bet on this.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't want to go on this thing and be like, Bouncing Boy is going to be the mightiest legionnaire. I know because there he is. Prody isn't on this list.
Right. They're not too nice to Bouncing Boy in here. And you can tell he sort of internalized it. Like, he has some pretty, like, brutal negative self-talk in this comic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think we just passed it, but on page 8, he's like, how about me? If I lost, no one would miss me.
Oh, yeah, I noticed that.
But even then, they're not like, no, don't talk about yourself that way. They're like, neither would your challenger. You're too big a target, Bouncing Boy.
Oh, yeah, totally. It's like, not only would no one miss you, but you're also fat.
Right.
And they're going to kill you right away because you're so big.
Mm-hmm.
Lame. Yeah, this is another hazing story for the Legion.
Well, Marlowe is not doing his job.
I know, and he needs to teach these guys some sportsmanship.
Right. Bullying makes a big comeback in the 30th century.
Here's another cool drawing of Mon-El punching out Element Lad. And just the pose of Mon-El where you see the top of his head. He kind of looks like his head banging or moshing or something. And there's this blast. I don't know. That's kind of weird. Kind of good.
Yeah, that Mon-El punch pose is great, though. It's really good, but it seems inappropriately intense. Like, that looks like like he's fighting Dev M or something, and this is like the last punch before he collapses or something.
Yeah, he's like,
but he's giving putting his all. Right, indeed.
Yeah, for Element Lad, who doesn't even have
he's
super
just like
strength.
Shattered every bone in Element Lad's body.
Yeah. Well, his groan is very emphatic here.
Right.
Almost as emphatic, or actually more emphatic than Bouncing Boy when he says "ow." I like this. That's a good sound.
I guess but it's because he has basically been knocked out, right? And he's like sort of punching him on his way down with his last bit of strength.
Yes.
What's going on?
Element Lad has turned his serum into lead or something like that to defeat him, which is pretty messed up.
Pretty hardcore. So the what is this guy's name again? D'Artagnan?
Dartog.
He's the one, I think, who becomes like the porcupine guy.
That's right. He showed up in issue 1 of Legion of Superheroes.
Like, he's the only one I can even remember ever. Like, the others are not very memorable. I think he's the closest they have to an iconic character.
Yeah, just because he's all orange and he has a funky haircut or something.
Right, he has like a really wide nose, like squat face.
This page has a funny sequence where like this trio of heroes has been assigned to catch this one guy from the Wanderers, Ornitho, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Saturn Girl's here, and Chemical King's like, good thing I followed Saturn Girl. And then back here is Chameleon Boy. He's like, good thing I followed Chemical King following Saturn Girl. And so they all just followed Saturn Girl because she used her telepathy to find out where this guy is, I think. Something like that. Easily just all followed each other.
It's a little disappointing because like we hear her thoughts here. She's laughing and she mentions the two of them. My assumption was immediately like, those dumb boys, I know they're behind me. But nope, they were right. She has no idea that they're there.
It's funny that she's like, my thought power told me that Ornitho was here. But her stupid thought power did not tell her that she was being followed by two different people.
Maybe she's like on the bird wavelength or something. She's not on the human thought channel.
Good bird drawings here. I like this bird that attacks her that has like weird, like prehensile legs. Pretty far out. But I think the winner in this case is, well, who the hell is it? Oh, it's Chameleon Boy is the winner, and this one catches him. And now the Karate Kid sequence. Karate Kid, Ultra Boy, and Sun Boy are trying to track down Quantum Queen, right? Karate Kid wins. Look how tore up he gets. He beat the shit out of Ultra Boy in defiance of all those powers that Ultra Boy has, but can only use one power at a time. Karate Kid takes him down. And then he for good measure, he takes out Sun Boy.
The problem is, as you know, Superboy, his weakness is kryptonite. Mon-El's weakness is lead. Ultra Boy's weakness is he's stupid. So it's very easy for a skilled fighter like Karate Kid to take him out.
Well, an intelligent person like Karate Kid.
Right.
Like if there was another dumbass Legionnaire, he would be a good match for Ultra Boy if there was a fight. I don't know who the other dumbest Legionnaire is. Timberwolf. He's dumb.
Yeah, that would be a good fight. But he's got the instincts, I guess.
He has some damage dealt to him, for sure. His clothes are all torn up.
Right.
But Ultra Boy's clothes are also torn up.
Those wimps. They're just yanking at each other's clothes instead of punching.
Quantum Queen's power is that she can convert her body into any type of quantum radiation. And it's the editor tells us a quantum is an elemental unit of energy. So she can turn into any kind of energetic radiation.
Does that make sense to you? Does that add up? I'm not super strong on real science.
Yeah. Like she can turn into radiation and give you cancer, cure your cancer or whatever, not cure it, but treat your cancer with her radiation. Or she can just become heat, I guess. She could be a match for Sun Boy.
If quantum in this instance is being used as a measure, right, of the energy, like we'd have to know how much a quantum is. Like, is it like a minuscule amount of energy?
I don't know.
Maybe then she's projecting multiple quantums. I don't know. Of course, always associate quantum with like quantum cats or alternate realities or miniature things. Right? Like the quantum realm.
Oh, from Ant-Man, the movie?
No. Yes, that too. Like quantum physics. I know about it. Quantum physics.
Quantum leap.
I know that things that are really, really small, you can't look at them without changing the outcome, which sounds really heady and neat, but what it really means is for you to project a light on something that small that would need to hit it and bounce back to your eye in order for you to see it, it is so small that photon would move it.
Oh.
That's what that really means, which is not nearly as cool as your perception is somehow changing the outcome. It's really just the light moves the stuff because it's so small.
All right.
Kind of a bummer. Very disappointing.
Oh. Uh-huh.
Not nearly as cool.
Yeah, that's lame. That doesn't sound like magic at all.
No.
I was just thinking about radiation.
Oh.
It's not a substance. It's what is radiation? We need somebody who knows some physics.
Yeah, somebody is punching their YouTube watching device, listening to us.
Yeah, like these do dumb shit.
How are these guys talking about science fiction?
These fucking Kansas hillbillies. They should have called Quantum Queen to cure Drake Burroughs. Could have fixed all that, I bet.
I mean, there's all kinds of problems with these guys. I mean, not just her. Like, Do all the pretty girls that Superboy knows, are they getting cancer in their butts because he's looking at them with his X-ray vision?
Oh, geez. I thought you meant like he's putting kryptonite in their butts.
No. That
Or
would be
Lex
crazy.
Luthor. I don't know. I don't know. He would be doing that.
Right. And then old Sunboy aren't his powers nuclear?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like if he ever lost his powers, I bet you could call up Quantum Queen and she could give it back to him.
Right.
Or she could give anybody the same powers as Sunboy has. Like they need a new Sunboy, like he gets killed. I bet you make a new Sunboy, Quantum Queen, ring, Quantum Queen. Help us out. We need a new Sunboy. The old one is dead.
Right.
Suicide.
I think she was one of the only ones that she was relatively unchanged. Like maybe a couple of them were like direct clones. Maybe their designs weren't too terrible.
Oh, in the new Wanderer series.
Right. The Birdman guy definitely was a downgrade. I think this one that looks a lot like cross between like Silver Age Changeling and Alex Toth Birdman is a much better design.
Yeah, this looks cool. Yeah, Beast Boy, Hawkman, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know what Ornitho looks like in the Wanderer series.
It's rough.
He probably doesn't even have the same name.
In some depictions, he looks like he may be like a Native American type character. So maybe they were trying to tie him to Dawnstar, maybe?
That'll be an idea.
But in others, he has like orange hair. So I don't know.
Oh.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense if he was sort of tied there. But
this is a good panel here where Princess Projectra is like cleaning up Karate Kid's wounds after his epic battle with Ultra.
Yes, it's very. I mean, that one stands out to me more than any other in this book because it looks real in a way. It looks like it's based on. It looks like a mother fixing her kid, putting a bandage on her kid or something. Just the way his head is unnaturally tilted, like maybe she's having to force him not to move, or
when Mortimer must have like had Dr. Kildare on
right.
Pause the VCR or whatever the 1968 version of that is.
Right. It's
took a photo of it with his camera.
Right.
And developed it. And then 4 days later, he was able to copy this drawing from it.
It just seems like unusually like realistic.
Yeah, accurate body language.
Right,
for that,
right.
But then the next panel looks not at all realistic. The scaffolding building and there's like the Legos building over here.
Right.
And this is actually pretty good. I like this drawing of Brainiac 5 climbing over something.
And I love that Mr. Know-It-All is like in last place. He's like way down towards the bottom. Oh yeah, brains aren't helping you so much now, are they?
Is this a Matter Eater lad up here?
It must be
beating a Timberwolf at getting to the top of this building.
Right. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
They're going after the wanderer named Immorto, who, if you kill him, he gets resurrected right away.
Right.
Which is also a pretty good power, I guess. I mean, it's not a superpower, but like guy who can't die, I guess.
Why is it not a superpower?
Well, like imagine David has the power to not die, but what good am I otherwise in a battle? Like I'm still got a pot belly. I'm still lazy. Just if you kill me, I'll stand right back up again.
Put a weapon in your hand. You're like charging, like with an army or something every time.
But maybe I get killed really easily. Like you can kill me 5 times in the time it takes you to kill one Quantum Queen.
All the slasher movies, the guy keeps getting up.
So Immorto would be a good bad guy.
He'd be better at that, for sure. There's a Marvel team called the Great Lakes Avengers. that John Byrne made. Have you ever heard of them? They're kind of like the same idea as the Substitute Legion. Like they're a bunch of people with like oddball, seemingly useless powers. The leader is Mr. I for Immortal. He has the exact same powers, but it is kind of useless because it like takes a while for him to come back, I think. So,
right. I think that guy, he was in the Justice League Antarctica guys.
mm-hmm.
What was that dude's name? He's bald and he has pointy ears. He's like a Challengers of the Unknown villain, but his name is Multiple Man. That's a Marvel guy.
Was he kind of a Ming kind of looking guy? Like like pointy eyebrows and
like bald Submariner with a mustache, or something,
right,
pencil
right.
mustache. What is that guy's name? I think they in those comics, I don't know what his power originally was, but I think they developed his power to be this. Like if you kill him, he comes back again from death. But otherwise, he's just like a guy.
Was it for comic effect so they could just have him die like Kenny in every issue and then he just pops up in the next one?
Well, I don't think they ever killed him. I think he just was a dude. He was just this like a guy who was kind of wore like spandex and like they never killed him. He just hung out with these villains.
Mm-hmm. So he didn't see a lot of action.
Right. Yeah. I don't think he was in very many deadly situations. Mm-hmm. Which is another reason maybe the Immorto power isn't that great, because even as a superhero, you may not be in deadly situations that often. And then so what is your power? Like you're just along for the ride. Otherwise, like you fly the ship.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But if I need somebody who I can sacrifice their life for this mission, I might choose Immorto because he can't sacrifice his life. He'll come back.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like you're underestimating power like that. He's like, you said he's flying a ship. He could just be like kamikazing, just crashing ships into people and then crawling out and finding another ship. Seems like you could do a lot of damage if you didn't have to worry about dying.
I suppose so.
But I guess it depends on how long you're dead. Like, I think that Great Lakes guy is dead for a good while each time he dies. So it is useless, kind of useless in his...
The thing I most worry about with death and then coming back to life again is that the growing up part fucking sucks. And I wouldn't want to do it again.
Really? I think I'd love to do that. But only if I knew what I knew now, of course.
Right, that's the problem. Like the way it really works is that you die at the end of your life and then you're reborn as someone else. And then you have to go through it all again.
Oh, that's how it works.
You have to grow, but you have no knowledge of your past life.
Right.
I mean, some people do. And some fortune tellers tell you. But mostly, you don't have any knowledge of your previous life or lives. You just have to go through it all again. And it fucking blows. Like childhood and adolescence and high school and whatever. People bullying you and treating you like shit and kissing a girl for the first time and shit.
This is worse to you than the like everything in your body slowly breaking down.
Well, see, I don't know about that yet. My body is still pristine and wonderful.
Oh, okay.
I'm only 22.
I always forget. I thought you were 29.
I was exaggerating. I'm only 29.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd like to quantum leap back to like grade school, but I'm still kind of an adult, like a full-grown Scott Bakula with all his strength and intellect, but I just appear to be a child, so I can just beat the living shit out of like 8-year-olds. Gave me a hard time.
So you can date 8-year-olds?
Beat the shit out of
pedophile.
Beat
you
the
sick
shit
piece
out
of
of
shit. You're disgusting.
Beat the shit out of 8-year-olds. I'm talking about I'm talking about violently physically assaulting children, not having sex with them.
I just said dating. I didn't say anything about sex.
Oh.
I mean, I can
Freudian slip.
Oh boy. They're on the trail of Immorto right now. This is kind of a dynamic layout. I'm looking at it where we see this guy's hand way at the top and he's shooting down and killing Timberwolf.
I think it works pretty well on the.
It's actually pretty readable, right?
It isn't like totally arbitrary. Like the angle sort of fits the shape of the panel. Like the upper left one, we see him on the side of the wall, for example. Well, all three of these top three all seem to work well with the shape.
It's not like that. I'm thinking of that Neil Adams X-Men page that's kind of like this, where they're all at an angle, and it doesn't make any sense, where you have no idea how you're supposed to read that page.
Yeah.
This one still works because the first two panels are still at the top up here, and then you go to this kind of middle one, and it all still works.
I can identify with Immorto here jumping and laughing on his way down. Ha! Goodbye, Legionnaire.
He jumped. He knows he can't be killed.
At first I thought, well, maybe he's just trying to like take out guys climbing, like by falling on them to knock them off the wall.
He could have done both, huh?
Use himself as a projectile. Not so useful with Superboy, though.
Actually, how come Superboy didn't catch him?
Didn't he? You think he just like let him die?
I thought he died.
Wasn't he in the next panel?
He's not. He's done. He's gone here. I guess it just Superboy wins that challenge, so he saved him.
They don't even really tell us. Oh, here's that where she's patting Brainiac 5 on the back there.
You don't need to prove to me you're tops.
You did good, kid.
I wish more people would say something like that to me. Like, you don't need a victory to prove to me that you're tops. I'm like, oh, good. Because there aren't very many victories in my life. But I still want you to think I'm tops.
You'll get it next time, Chuck.
He's like, I should have realized Immorto would jump.
Right. Some brain I am. Yeah, I do like anything that plays him up as being kind of a failure. And I think it's accidental for the most part, but in the 70s, he is just fucking up left and right. Like half the problems they seem to be dealing with in major storylines, he is somehow responsible for.
And that's better, like later on, it's like, oh, he's the only one who can solve these problems.
Right.
Like, give me a break. Like, yeah, he's more... There really should be a person who causes these problems.
Right.
Like they're teenagers and he's smart. He's going to fuck it up. He's going to cause these problems.
Right.
I kind of like the development here. It's like, it's not that he's like completely insecure about it or about himself, as the detractor from his omnipotence or whatever, is that he hates himself. Or like, that's not quite it. It's something else. But yeah, he just fucks up. It's pretty good.
He's a little lacking in the common sense department, possibly because of his age and inexperience, and maybe
raised by computers.
Right.
This next page, I guess we've moved on to the next bracket, right? Let's see what they're. I lost the bracket page. So they got. Yeah, I think now he's on to Elvo, right?
Mm-hmm.
Karate Kid's going after Elvo. He's like a swordsman.
And he's the one, when cloned, becomes literally an elf.
Oh, that's Elvo?
Of course.
So his name somehow infected and influenced his DNA when he became a clone, and he's like, oh, he's an elf.
Well, there's something about the redesigns that's kind of interesting. Dave Cockrum originally redesigned them. Like he was planning on using them before he, left Legion. And I have read that Nightcrawler was supposed to be one of them. But I've also read a story that he was going to put Nightcrawler on like the Teen Titans. So I don't know.
Well, yeah, I read this today, and then I read something where I think I looked up the Wanderers on Wikipedia. Because they're introduced as if we know them, and there's no story to go along with it, and then they kind of leave. But this is their first appearance, is in this comic book, even though they have no development.
Yeah, and they don't have any between this and their own series, really. I think they just show up for like weddings.
Yeah. So I looked him up on Wikipedia to find out if I missed anything, and I hadn't.
Mm-hmm.
But it had that little tidbit about Cockrum redesigning them. And I'm like, oh, I want to see what this looks like. And the drawing that they're kind of talking about in the Wikipedia that shows Nightcrawler and shows Storm or something like that.
Oh, right.
It's like this drawing, and then there's the name of the team at the bottom, and it doesn't say Wanderers, it says Outsiders.
Oh, the Outsiders, yeah.
And then there's a second one that could be it too, and it is called the something else, the Ravagers or the Revengers or something like that. And I want to know where this idea came from that Cockrum was trying to revise and bring back the Wanderers, because I don't know if it's this thing called the Outsiders because that says Outsiders.
Oh, I see what you mean. The X-Men Nightcrawler was at least his second attempt to use that design. But he may have tried 3 times. Like maybe he at one point wanted that to be one of the Wanderer designs, but that didn't work out. Then he tried to use it in the Outsiders, and then finally ends up using it over. I don't know. I know that several of his X-Men characters were designs he like a lot of those Imperial Guard characters were designs he originally intended to use in Legion.
Like new costume designs?
I think so, for the most part.
I want to know more about the Dave Cockrum Wanderers, if that's real or if it's some miscommunication somewhere along the line. I looked and I couldn't find anything. Everything led back to this Outsiders and another drawing that also was not the Wanderers.
It could all be BS. But you know, the Wanderers, even like the ones, the kind of crappy ones that show up later, they are reminiscent of Cockrum. Like I could see Cockrum doing something like that more so than I could see him doing the Outsiders. Like it seems more within his wheelhouse, the kind of like swashbucklery space.
Well, see, I don't know that this Outsiders thing is the same thing as like the Mike Barr Outsiders. Yeah, it's not the same thing. I think it's just like these are some outsiders and they're superheroes. Right. We'll call them the Outsiders because it would predate the Mike Barr one. It would predate the first issue special Outsiders, which is a cool, crazy comic if you haven't seen it. It's a Joe Simon Grandinetti jam from the 70s.
Like there's nothing in common but the name. Let's check that out.
This fucking sword dude, he's beat Karate Kid. But then here comes Superboy swooping in. Like, Karate Kid softened him up. Superboy shows up. Take all the credit.
It is bullshit, though, that he beat Karate Kid. It makes no sense. Maybe Karate Kid's tired.
Yeah, due to the sword.
Right.
Yeah, I guess
he beat Ultra Boy with his bare hands. And, like, he just fell back and stumbled down the cliff like a rube.
Yeah, like he wasn't paying attention that he was right at the edge of a cliff and fell over. Oh, that knife, or he calls it a meat slicer. That meat slicer is hurling me toward the cliff. I can't stop. He's lost all control of his body. This master of martial arts. Whatever. And the bottom half of this page is Chameleon Boy and Bouncing Boy are trying to get this girl. This is Psyche, right? Who has Mistress of Emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So she's gotten Bouncing Boy to fall in love with her and do whatever she asks.
He draws excellent girls. That seems to be his strength, I think.
I think he has many strengths. I think he's good at drawing. I mean, maybe it's just because I've kind of, as a 21st century comic book reader, he doesn't draw everybody really muscly, and he's good at just the physicality and the body types of like regular people, or in this case, like teenagers. Like they look smaller than adults.
Right.
He's good at that, and he can draw a fat guy well. Like we've seen Bouncing Boy look really ridiculously bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a good medium-sized Bouncing Boy, I guess.
Yeah.
Chubby, but not.
Psyche has now pitted Bouncing Boy against Chameleon Boy, and Prody is there too, or Prody 2 is there too. And there's some kind of twist here where it looks like Bouncing Boy's beat up Chameleon Boy, but then we see a shadow a figure laying in the grass. We don't know who the hell that is.
Right. At first glance, it seems like her powers are very similar to like Charma, but her powers are a little more complicated or more interesting. Like Chameleon Boy is completely aware of what's going on. Like he says, I can't help it. I'm compelled to hate Bouncing Boy. Like he's being controlled by she's controlling his emotions, but his intellect still understands that he's being controlled, and he can't do anything about it. Pretty interesting.
Right. This is an irrational hatred of Bouncing Boy, but I still hate him and I'm going to fight him.
Right.
And he has that same irrational hatred towards me. Mm-hmm. And she could do that with any emotion.
This is kind of a neat idea. Like they have these like first aid satellites just floating around.
That was a good idea. Now I don't think they ever used it again. But
yeah.
Like how much money must have R.J. Brand put into having like millions of first aid satellites around wherever the Legionnaires might wind up?
It's a little crazier when it's just for them, but it would make sense that if people were all over the universe in ships, that there might be like emergency station satellites if they get marooned somewhere.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. Like in every like cell phone tower, there should be one of these or something like that, And you can just push a button and it'll come to you if you hurt yourself.
Right.
And plus Bouncing Boy beats the shit out of Chameleon Boy, knocks him out of commission, but he's so hurt that they get the first aid kit and Bouncing Boy induces a coma.
I know.
For Chameleon Boy until they can get some real serious help.
At first I thought it was an EpiPen, but I think that's kind of a cool idea. Like the suspended animation thing. Like I'm not a doctor. For all I know, he's bleeding to death or whatever. I'll just freeze him until I can get him real medical aid.
It's pretty insane. Yeah, suspended animation coma.
Right.
Far out. That's like the biggest idea that Jim Shooter has done at all in any of this stuff, right?
But again, just like the satellite, it never shows up again. But could they have saved Karate Kid if they'd used that on him until they had time to get him to like the medical center?
Maybe Karate Kid's a bad example. I feel like Nemesis Kid like killed him pretty solidly.
The first two or three I thought of, like they were all incinerated. That was the first guy I could think of who had a body.
Yeah, but I think he was mostly incinerated. Yeah, I thought there was a drawing of Projector like holding what's left of him, and it's all just all burned up and scorched. But
there was something like he's like, "Adios, you son of a bitch," and blows up the bridge with both of them on it, or something like that.
I hope that's what he did. Like, adios. If only they could have Karate Kid with a stupid like Kansas accent, Spanish.
Right.
Adios, you son of a bitch. Hasta la vista.
We do that. We really do that, right? Kind of. There's medically induced comas. I don't fully understand what they do, other than maybe keeping people from writhing around in pain and further injuring themselves.
Yeah, I think you have to be pretty close to actually just being in a coma anyway, and then they can put you into a coma. Like otherwise, they wouldn't bother. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know either. Like you got to be pretty bad shape for them to put you into a coma and have that be better than have you be alert and alive and awake.
Right. Mm. Coma sounds pretty good. I wouldn't have to go to work.
Coma or just death. The sweet embrace of death.
It's like going to sleep, but forever.
Every Saturday I wake up and I'm like, damn, I wish I could have been asleep forever.
There's no alarm clocks in the afterlife.
But see, the only problem with death is that you come back and you have to go through childhood and
right
again.
Right.
With no recollection of your past life.
Go through all that shit all over again.
And there's no one to help you.
Bullshit.
It looks like on the next page they finally track down Celebrand. He's holed up in this tower.
It kind of sounds like a medication of some kind, doesn't he?
Sure does. Celebrand.
and you just hear a long list of side effects without ever hearing what Celebrand even does.
Ask your doctor if Celebrand might be right for you.
May cause death.
But okay, they're this is the last guy in the bracket. And we have 2 challengers for Mightiest Legionnaire remaining. Bouncing Boy and Superboy. Superboy thinks he's got this in the bag. He's like, we got Celebrand. He's here in this, he's holed up in this tower.
Doesn't have any powers. He's an old man.
Yeah, he doesn't have any hair, no powers. All he's got is a medallion.
And his magic rock collection.
Is that this?
Yes. That's what makes him so formidable. He has a magic rock collection. He can see the future with some. He can see into other dimensions with some. I don't know how that helps him. I forgot what the other ones did. But for some reason, he just gives up anyway.
Oh, yeah. This was a kind of a weird thing. This panel here, he says 3 of the stones show visible things, past, present, and future. 3 of them show invisible things, past, present, and future. And 1, so there's 7, 1 of them peers into other dimensions. And the next thing you know, you see Superboy. And we happen to know that Superboy is from another dimension, a pocket universe.
Oh, yeah.
So he's looking at the pocket universe Superboy right here. But it's actually Superboy of this universe just coming after him. And Superboy thinks he's going to get him, but then Celebrand turns the tables and he just opens the door and surrenders to Bouncing Boy.
Because he knows he will inevitably be defeated by Superboy. The stones have shown him no alternatives, so he gives up. Though he does sort of end up changing the outcome because he ends up surrendering to...
Right. He surrenders to the weakest Legionnaire.
Right.
And then this Legionnaire is going to go on to fight the glove from earlier in the tourney.
After he forces them all to rip their clothes off.
Yeah, it looks like Phantom Girl's going to rip off her pee.
She wasn't even in the competition. He's like, I don't care. You have to do it too. All the girls line up.
Well, Starboy wasn't even in the comic at all until right here. He has to rip off his star.
He just wants to humiliate him.
But then Array comes out and takes away the Mightiest Legionnaire to fight in the tourney. And they're like, oh, Bouncing Boy's vanishing. But then, guess who walks in? It's fucking Bouncing Boy. The real Bouncing Boy. This guy proves it. Superboy. He checks his fingerprints with his microscopic vision.
Apparently he has them memorized.
And so Brainiac 5 is like, but if you're here, who just did that fade out? Who was that guy?
Who could have made themselves look just like you? I'll have to use my 10th level intelligence.
But the narrator says, think you know? Maybe. But see the next issue for the Legion Champs Big Showdown. So the big showdown happens next issue. Dun, dun, dun. But you said it doesn't, right? You said it's unrelated.
I mean, I read it cover to cover years ago. I don't remember the exact details. I skimmed through it today. Maybe something in the text of it clarifies how they connect better. But to me, it almost seems like it's got an entirely different plot of its own.
Oh, so next issue, it turns out that we think it must be Prody, but it's actually Chameleon Boy, who switched places with Bouncing Boy to trick the Glove or the Wanderers. The Wanderers aren't in it, right?
No, the Wanderers are not.
I was looking at this ad that's for a World's Finest. How can one man and one dog panic the world's finest heroes? Find out in World's Finest. And man, Superman looks...
weird.
He doesn't look quite panicked, but he looks real weird. This is Jack Sparling, I think, or this is a weird looking drawing of Superman for sure.
He looks haggard.
Yeah, he looks like, I don't know, like Lee Marvin as Superman or something. But yeah, there's a guy with a hyena on a leash back there chasing him. So that was Adventure Comics 375.
Long live the Legion. Or not.
Hope they die soon and have to relive their adolescence.
Adios, you son of a bitch.
Adios, you son of a bitch.